Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I am so excited to bring this to you. There's a little bit of a delay. Are you seeing that, Justin?
I see the live. Well, we're on live Facebook as far as I can tell.
Okay, awesome.
So we're here. So just
Awesome.
let's roll with it and
So
see what happens.
I'm not going to focus on the delay because there's a delay when I'm watching, but I'm just going to focus on you and ignore me. Okay, so as long as you can hear me, we're good.
Yeah.
So you guys, I am so excited to bring you one of my friends today. And, one question I want to ask for you. Have you, or maybe someone you know, ever felt stuck in your career? Maybe you feel like you're hustling and never getting anywhere, not being recognized for your contributions, passed over. You want to achieve more, but you're not sure how to get there. Well, this is why I am bringing my friend Justin Boyum to you. You've got to know him. So a little bit about Justin. He is a veteran military officer. I also am a veteran, was in the Army. So thank you, Justin, for your service. He is a high performance coach, and he's the executive partner of Stone Allen Consulting and Career Coaching. So a little bit about what Justin does. He has been helping leaders and professionals to make huge leaps in their career where they can land their dream job and finally get paid for what they deserve, which is often a $50,000 pay raise or more. Amazing, right? So Justin, thank you so much for being here and talking to me today. I'd love to ask you some questions so we can learn a little bit more about how you do this. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, Stephanie, first off, just thank you for that glowing introduction. And it's awesome. It's always fun to connect with, our fellow veterans in the space that are helping to change the world and make things happen. Someone like you who's been helping people really crush it in their lives, develop themselves as leaders, and something that I'm certainly very passionate about as well. And it's awesome to be on the call with you in general and being able to talk to the people who might be following. And if you're following on Facebook, I can't see the chat right now, but I just want to say hi to you. Thanks for watching. It's just so awesome to be here. Thank you so much. And I do want to answer your question about how did we get to doing this, right? And I know you went through this as well as I did, but once upon a time, I left active duty military and had to go figure out what I wanted to do when I grow up, now that I'm not going to have my paycheck kind of given to me and everybody ordering me around and making that transition. And it's scary to go do that part of it. But then once you're in your career, it's really, you don't know what you don't know until you start doing it. And I know that happened to me. And if you're watching and you're in the chat and you had to do some jumps and jumping around in your career, just put jump in the chat if that's you, because I went through that too. I'm with you. And I struggled for years to try to find something that was actually truly a fit for what my individual purpose was, what my best skills were. It was try one thing here. I was a logistics officer when I was in the Army, and I thought I'd get into logistics when I got out, and I found that, and it just wasn't quite the same. I don't know if that ever happened to you, Stephanie, if you ever found yourself doing something that wasn't quite what you thought it was.
Yeah.
And it was really just something pulling you apart. And I remember coming from the military, you get all this field experience, in leadership, where you're able to help move and make things happen. And then I find myself in a cubicle, and it literally feels like a cage.
Yeah.
And it just was not the right fit. So I'd go try something else, and it seemed exciting at first. And then you find out that there's a values disconnect, or maybe the leadership doesn't treat you like how you think a leader should be doing. It doesn't empower you, or maybe they're restrictive or they're overbearing. And all the while you're like, man, is this really it? I feel like I'm working even harder and I'm not really getting compensated like what I feel I'm capable of doing. And that just followed me around. And that's what led me into coaching in general. And I partnered up with my business partner, Tyler, and we started this Stone Allen Careers business to help people move past that path, because Tyler came out of being a corporate recruiter working for companies like SpaceX and Northrop Grumman and all these places, and seeing what the backgrounds were of how to fill positions with actual high quality people. Because I don't know if you know this, even companies have a hard time finding the right talent because there's a disconnect between what the
Yeah.
company is looking for and what you're looking for, and we're not bridging that communication path. And so that's why we got started doing this, and how we discovered that there is an actual systematic path. If you go back to our military time of like having an actual plan and system that's going to lead to success, and doing it by knowing what's going on in the background of a talent acquisition operation. And that's how we got started doing this.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Justin. And I love how you turned your own experience into being passionate about helping others on their journey, right? One of the most important reasons to hire a coach is to help you get there faster, right? And circumvent the roadblocks. So I love your mission and what you're doing for people. So tell us a little bit about how you do this. Is there a process? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Absolutely. You have to have a system to help you go and achieve things, right? If we kind of go into any kind of goal, kind of just hoping it works out, we're very likely to not hit that goal. And career transition, not just necessarily growing in your career, which is also kind of what you're doing when you're making a transition, because ideally you're not going to leave a position to take a lateral move or a step back. You're hoping to move up and forward when you do that. But if you're going to make through that, there is a system to follow, and it's repeatable. And that's what we aimed out to do when we developed our program. It's like, what are the key things that have to happen in order for you to make that perfect career jump, to find something that's not just a job that ideally pays you more for your time or your skills, but something that's actually truly a fit to you. And so a lot of people come to us and they're like, oh, I was trying to do my resume and I'm not getting any callbacks, or I've had some interviews and they're not going well. And we dive in and go like, well, do you even know what's actually a dream fit for you? Do you even know, like, has everybody ever like known, like, I want to do something different, but I don't know what it is? If that's you, like that was me before, like, I know this isn't right, I got to do something else. So I'm just putting a resume out based on what I've been doing. And then you find that you're just getting back more of the same, because that's what you're putting out there. And so what we have to start with is what we call our assessment phase of like assessing what are your true superpowers and what values do you align with those. So that way you're putting that out into the market. Because once you've really gotten clear on that, then we can start going like, what does my professional brand have to be? If I'm the product that I'm trying to sell, what does that brand messaging have to be in order for somebody to actually want to compensate for that? And so we have to build.
Awesome. And I'm a huge fan, in my leadership coaching business, a huge fan of assessments, because they really do help people to have a deeper understanding of where their talents and strengths lie, and to be able to apply those with a disciplined approach, right? Because oftentimes people have a pretty good sense of what they're good at or who they are, but they're often applying those strengths in a very undisciplined fashion, which is why people don't achieve the type of success they're wanting to achieve. So I love that you start with assessments and that you're really helping people to understand themselves on a deeper level, but more importantly, then what do they do with that information? And the fact that you have a process is amazing. That's
And
awesome.
if I may, Stephanie, that's a great insight. You're absolutely right. Like, you've got to really know what you want. And so in the assessment phase, there's a lot of self-study and discovery that you can do, but there's also tried and true methods in order to just get that information fast that you can depend on. And then it's really about like, how do I go communicate that much more effectively? And I ask this question all the time to people who come on a call with us, or they start with us and I go, hey, what are your superpowers? Why should somebody want to hire you? And they go, right. Like, you think that you know, but then until like if you're not necessarily clear on that background, it's hard to do. And again, I think of it like most people putting their resume together based on what they're used to, but they're putting out that caged version of themselves.
Exactly.
Like,
100%.
That's what you're doing.
What they either think people want to hear, or they're following some sort of template, which, examples and guidelines are great, but people want to know you. And it's not just your knowledge, skills, and abilities, although that's important, right? But who are you? And how do you show up? And how are you going to be able to positively impact and move the needle within the organization, right? I
And,
love
and once
that.
you're clear about that, Stephanie, then it's like, okay, well, this is like selling any other product, right? Where there's a system that we're going to have to use. It's a little bit different than selling a product, right? Because it's a little bit you're selling yourself, but it's like,
Right.
hey, how do I go and connect with the right people? How do I create opportunities rather than blast out a resume and hope it happens? Right?
Yeah.
Get
Love
stuck in
it.
what we call the recruiter black hole. So there's some methods that we use to help you connect with the right people for your dream fit opportunities. Even if you're not sure what a dream fit opportunity is yet, we'll show you how to do that. And then once you've done that and you created those opportunities, now it's just time to deliver. Go demonstrate that you are that expert that you've branded yourself as, and start delivering impact all the way through the process, where someone sits there and goes, wow, just in this 20-minute interview we've had, I've gotten so much value out of just talking to you. Like, imagine what it would be like if you were here full time, right?
Yeah.
And then you start to call your own shot as far as like, once you get an offer, like how to negotiate it more effectively, because you can come with confidence in knowing what value you bring. And that's kind of our process in a nutshell.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So tell me a little bit about what holds people back. You work with a lot of business professionals, right?
Mhm.
Who obviously come to you because they haven't been able to reach their goals, and they're coming to you for help. So what are the typical things that hold people back, and why do they need what you provide?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think one of the biggest things that hold people back is feeling like they're not enough. Like, I'm going to go put myself out there. There's so much competition. I'm going to do all this effort and the grass isn't going to be green on the other side, or they're not even going to notice me, right? Plenty of people have talked about the rigors of like, I put my resume out and I got no callbacks. I've done like 100, and nobody wants that to happen to them. And that's an awkward feeling. And I think a lot of people think that they don't have the amount of certifications they need to have, or they don't have the degree, or they don't have enough requisite experience. And the truth is it's not so much about what you are educated on. It's really about what you're capable of doing. If you
Yes,
really try to compare yourself on a list of certifications, even experiences or degrees, there's always somebody with more.
always.
What's really more critical is getting good at showing what you're uniquely capable of. Now, I don't want to get too religious for you, but everybody is uniquely and wonderfully made in my eye. It means there's
I
only
agree
one
100% with
Stephanie
you
in the
on that.
world.
I say that all the time.
Right.
Yes, love
And,
it.
and even if you don't believe it religiously there, I want to support you guys there that may be uncomfortable with that language. There's only one strand of DNA that makes Stephanie. Right. And so you
Yeah,
have a uniqueness to you. And it's not so much just about the tangible stuff that we can see on paper. It's those intangible things that if you get comfortable with demonstrating that and seeing where exactly you're going to be passionate about being able to deliver that value, you can do it too. We've seen people go from being a lead technician to an operations manager, a football coach to a general manager. We've seen like an engineer go into management. We've seen people pivot entire industries on the way up rather than laterally, because they get good at being able to demonstrate what their actual unique value is. And everybody has that, no matter what.
amazing. I love it. And, I mentioned I'm an assessment geek too. So I facilitate and have experience with StrengthsFinder, which is,
Yeah.
Clifton Strengths through Gallup. And if you're familiar with all of the research that Gallup has done, statistically, each person, you have the likelihood of you having the same top 5 strengths in the same exact order is 1 in 33 million.
Right.
So not only, do we each have unique DNA, but to back up what Justin said with data, if you're a data geek like I am, 1 in 33 million. Those are the statistics. So you absolutely are unique, and that's what needs to show up.
Yeah.
And how
And not
Justin,
only strengths, but you think about what your value set is.
yeah,
What kind of emotional intelligence do you bring to the table? What kinds of personality tendencies do you have that make up uniquely you, that is going to be way, way more valuable than I've got 6 years versus 3 years of experience at whatever level, right? Most things can be learned as far as the skill sets, right? But what can't be learned is who you are. And that's the value you want to
absolutely.
bring.
Well, and I'm a huge believer in education, right? And
Mhm,
being a lifelong learner. So
mhm.
people who have multiple degrees, certifications, that's amazing. Like,
Sure.
congratulations. It takes
Yeah.
a lot of hard work to do that and to get there. However, I have met not just one, but many high level C-suite executives, some of which didn't go to college or didn't finish college. Now, I'm not promoting that because I have, sons that I want to take that route, if that's meant
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah,
But
definitely. We don't want to dismiss school. School is still
right, but
good.
just to show, to prove the point, it's not just your accolades and credentials that get you to where you need to go. So I love everything about what you're
Yeah.
saying.
I want to just encourage anybody
Anything
on
else
here.
that holds, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Justin, anything else that you think holds people back?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you asked that, because there are some other things that hold back. And if I can, just really briefly, I want to encourage everybody, like, school is awesome if you want that. But sometimes one of the challenges might be that, oh, that's going to take years of time. I'm going to have to spend, tens of thousands of dollars to go get those things before I can even take a chance on myself. And you don't need to do that. And I think that time, honestly, if we're going to really be honest, Stephanie, to your question, is another thing that really holds people back. Of, I'm already working full time. I've got a family I've got to support and spend time with, and investment. I want to be there for everybody. And Harvey McKay has a whole book he wrote called, like, Getting a Job is a Job, right? And it kind of feels that way. And so you're like, do I want to put the energy into that? And I might not get the callbacks. And then truthfully, that can feel like a real challenge. Like, I don't know if you've ever been that way, Stephanie. You're like, I want to do this, but I don't know if I have the time to be able to go do it well.
Never. Yeah.
Right.
I tend to take on a lot of things all at once. So
Right.
I do resonate with that feeling occasionally. Yes.
Yeah. And I want to encourage anybody who might feel that way. It's like, but I want to do it, but I don't feel like I can spend 3 hours a day. Right. And I'm not suggesting you need to spend 3 hours a day on your career change, but the reason we built a system is so that you don't have to spend 3 hours a day doing that. And you have people that you can lean on that can show you the way. And just imagine if you spent a little bit of time to get really good at it, like, how much more time could you save in that process? And then the benefits are doing something that you actually really love doing, earning quite a bit more. Like, even if you don't make more, like, wouldn't it be better to be doing something that you truly love doing? If you're not the person if you're in a role that right now it's like, the pay is okay, but, like, if I could just actually really care about what I'm doing and feel like I'm valued here, wouldn't that be worth it to learn how to do it? And that's and one of my favorite quotes that I sit with all the time, and this is the reason why I value coaching and people like you, Stephanie, is like the Abraham Lincoln quote of, like, if you give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Right. That's why you go and find a system that helps you sharpen that axe and makes that process so much easier. And the benefits are just, like, through the roof to go through it. Because you can imagine, we're talking about, through what we do, helping people in that first year of increasing their income. But you got to think about year 2 and 3 as you get promoted on that track now. Like, what are the payoffs going forward? And so time, I think, is something that holds people back. And I think it's encouraging just to know that you can save time by going and getting the right support and system structure.
Absolutely. And I love that Abraham Lincoln quote, and a funny little story that I'll share with you. So my youngest is now 16 and 6'2", and and he would die if he knew I were telling this story, but he's at school right now. So when he was little, he loved Abraham Lincoln, dressed up as him for something for school. I went to DC every year and took the kids. I still go every March for a conference where we lobby on Capitol Hill. And he couldn't say Abraham, and he called him Hammerfraid. So
I love it.
Yes, Hammerfraid Lincoln. All right.
Yeah.
So
you should get a racing horse and name it that.
I love it. So I love everything that you're doing. Obviously, I'm passionate about people development. That's what I do. And I'm excited about what you're talking about. So I imagine other people are as well. So what should listeners do next? What are the next steps? How can they find out more about you, how to get involved, et cetera?
Yeah, I love that question. You're like, you can tell you're future focused, Stephanie. I love that. If you're watching this live or even on a recording, you're probably asking that same question. Like, oh, that sounds awesome. How can I engage with that? I mean, he said so many awesome things, and there's so much more detail than I can share with you on a short, few minutes of this interview. And so that's why we created a virtual masterclass that you can join. You can come in and get live coaching and instruction on how to do this. And, like, wouldn't it be helpful if I just spent a couple hours with you and let you know exactly how to go do this and answer all of your questions. And that's exactly what we've set up. And we have a virtual event, which allows us to connect with people all over the country and the world that want to follow this process and want to dip their toes and figure out what it's about. And even if you only learned like how to go and achieve this, like, wouldn't it be worth it just to spend a little bit of time and get that instruction and be able to have your question asked? And that's exactly what we did. And it's called Career Hacking Live. That's what we're doing with it. In fact, I will share the link with you guys. I have this fun little camera feature here that I can put in it. So we're going to go to careerhackinglive.com/SPH so that we know that you followed through Stephanie's channel to get there. Please use that link and come sign up. You can learn more about it. You can see some of the clients that we've worked with and see kind of how it's worked for them. And then come and get a ticket. Come join us for that and get your question answered. And that's exactly go from being that caged person to being the fully charged person that you know you can be. Go deliver that value. And that's exactly what we'd like you to do at that event.
Awesome. And tell us again, when is this event, Justin?
Well, I would encourage you to go click at the link. It will be something that we're doing soon. So go, just go check out the link. We might do other events before. So even if we've already passed that event, you're watching this after the fact, just go click that link. You'll see how to keep engaging with us.
Beautiful. I love that you're doing this multiple times so that people can really get the help that they need. Justin, what you're doing is incredible. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. And everyone, definitely check out the link and see what Justin and his team have to offer. You don't want to miss out on this. If you can get to your dream job quicker, faster, be happier, and make more money, sign me up, right? So Justin, thanks again.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for having me. It's been such a blast. And if you're watching on Facebook Live with us or on recording, I'm just so glad that we were able to bring this to you, and I hope to see you at our event.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin.